Every empire says, "Our money is safe, don't worry." Every government swears, "This system will last forever." And history proves them wrong every single time. From Rome to France, from the American Civil War to today's Lebanon. People woke up one morning to find that everything they'd saved over a lifetime had turned into worthless paper. Their salaries couldn't buy anything, and their dreams had been stolen. Collapse isn't rare, my friend. Collapse is the rule. The real question isn't, do systems collapse? The real question is, how do you protect yourself when they do? We look at our bank accounts, our money, and say, this is solid ground. But money isn't solid ground. Money is trust, and trust can vanish overnight. That's why history is both brutal and incredibly useful. Behind every collapse are lessons, repeating patterns, and warnings. It shows what actually holds value and what turns to dust. And if you pay attention, the people who survived these disasters were never the ones who trusted the most. They were the ones who doubted first, the ones who took precautions early. Take the Byzantine Empire, for example. It was the eastern half that somehow stayed standing for a full 1,000 years after the Western Roman Empire fell. At the heart of its economy was the gold solidus. It was so trusted that merchants from Europe to the Middle East and Asia accepted it without question. It was basically the dollar of the Middle Ages. But here's the irony. They'd already seen what happened when Rome kept debasing its silver denarius earlier. We've told that story before, yet they made the same mistake with gold. First they shaved it a little, then made it thinner, mixed in cheaper alloys. At first, nobody noticed. Then trust started to crack. The coin that had anchored Mediterranean trade suddenly became just another political lie. Debasement destroyed its credibility, and the Byzantine economy never really recovered its old stability. So what survived? Not paper promises, not government decrees. The ones who quietly hoarded real gold or bought land outside imperial control, they preserved their wealth. The first big lesson: governments can never resist the temptation to dilute their money. The moment they can't resist, real value flees to assets they can't counterfeit. But not every collapse comes from rulers playing games with money. Sometimes it hits out of nowhere, like lightning. In the mid-14th century, the Black Death struck Europe. Between 1347 and 1351, maybe half the population was wiped out. Cities emptied, villages disappeared, trade routes shut down. But the economic side isn't that simple. When the workforce gets cut in half, the survivors suddenly become valuable. Those who lived could demand higher wages. Food, land, things that used to be scarce became abundant because there were so few people left. Families with cash, silver, goods, or even just the ability to work suddenly gained power they never dreamed of. Land that once cost a fortune was now going dirt cheap. Houses stood empty, fields lay fallow. Does that sound familiar? It should. We saw a modern version during COVID. Supply chains collapsed. Governments printed trillions to keep the system running. Result? Those with cash swept up assets while paycheck-to-paycheck people fell behind. In the United States, house prices skyrocketed. The stock market bounced back instantly, while millions struggled to pay rent. It's almost poetic, isn't it? Pandemics redistribute wealth. They always have. Survivors of the Black Death turned scarcity into opportunity and climbed the social ladder. Those with cash during COVID scooped up homes, stocks, businesses. It's uncomfortable, but true. Crises reward those with reserves and punish those without. While pandemics show how fast shocks can flip everything upside down, Renaissance Florence teaches something else. Institutions that are too big to fail can topple like dominoes. In the 1340s, Florence was Europe's financial capital. Giant banking families like Bardi and Peruzzi. They'd lent huge sums to kings, most disastrously to England's Edward III. He stopped paying during his wars with France. The banks collapsed, depositors were ruined, trade froze. Once wealthy Florence plunged into chaos. Ordinary people learned this. Size isn't safety. Reputation isn't protection. Institutions exist for their own profit, not to guarantee your survival. When they fall, they take your savings with them. This lesson repeats every century, from Florence to Lehman Brothers in 2008 to Lebanon's banks in 2019. Survival means accepting that an institution's promises are only good until the day they're not. When people think of the American Civil War, battles and slavery come to mind. But behind it was a brutal financial war most Americans today barely know about. The North printed greenbacks, paper money not backed by gold, just the word of the government. At first it felt patriotic, but the more they printed, the less it bought. Inflation eroded trust. In the South it was even worse. The Confederacy printed graybacks like crazy. By war's end, inflation hit thousands of %. Soldiers' pay became worthless before they could spend it. People carried bags of bills that couldn't even buy a loaf of bread. By 1865, Confederate money was completely dead. What mattered then? Not paper, real assets, land, food, gold. Things the system couldn't inflate away kept their value. For ordinary Southerners, it was devastating. Lifetime savings turned to dust. Those with access to tangible goods seized wealth on the cheap. It's a lesson Americans rarely hear, but should never forget. Your own country has already lived through a currency collapse. And what protected people wasn't trusting the paper in their wallet, it was holding value the system couldn't inflate. France learned the same harsh lesson through revolution. In the 1790s, after toppling the monarchy and seizing church lands, they issued new paper money, the assignat. In theory, backed by confiscated land, it was supposed to stabilize the economy. But they printed as much as they could. Each new batch devalued the last. Prices soared. Wages couldn't keep up. Farmers refused to sell food for paper, demanded goods or silver instead. Bread riots returned to Paris, and the revolution started eating itself. The winners weren't the ones holding patriotic paper. They were the ones holding food, gold, property. For the ordinary Parisian, the lesson came too late. No matter how noble the promise, if others won't accept it, your money is worth zero. Fast forward 2 centuries, the same lesson hits Asia. In 1997, a speculative attack on the Thai baht spiraled into a regional crisis. Thailand had borrowed heavily in dollars, comfy with its pegged exchange rate. When the peg broke, debts doubled overnight. Investors fled. Currencies from Indonesia to Korea melted. Unemployment exploded. Governments begged the International Monetary Fund. The biggest sufferers weren't the speculators, of course. It was ordinary people. Savings evaporated, loan payments doubled, jobs vanished. But the pattern was familiar. Those with dollars or assets abroad got hurt less. Countries deep in foreign debt tightened belts, while Wall Street grabbed Asian assets on the cheap. What looked local was actually a global wealth transfer. Same lesson from Byzantium to Argentina. Debt in someone else's currency is a death trap. When the storm hits, the debtor drowns. By now the picture should be clear, right? From France to America to Asia, the same themes keep coming back. Paper money collapses, debt chains you down. The survivors are never the ones who trusted the system most. They're the ones who saw its fragility first. The scariest part, collapse isn't just ancient or far away. It's happening right now. In Lebanon, between 2019 and 2021, banks literally locked their doors. People woke up unable to access their own money. The Lebanese pound lost over 90% of its value. Lifetime savings turned to pocket change. Queues outside banks, people begging for their own cash. Small savers, middle-class families, doctors, engineers, anyone who trusted the system got wiped out. The best survivors were those who diversified abroad, held gold or property, or kept cash outside banks. If that feels distant, it shouldn't. In 2008, Americans lost homes, pensions melted, while crisis-causing banks got bailed out. In 2020, trillions were printed. Asset prices soared for the rich, wages stagnated. In 2023, a few regional banks collapsed overnight, proving too big to fail is still a fairy tale. So how do you protect yourself when everything falls apart? History doesn't give one single answer. In Byzantium, it was gold. After the Black Death, it was cash to buy empty land. In Florence, not trusting big bankers. In the Civil War, real goods. In France, food and property. In Asia, avoiding foreign currency debt. In Lebanon, getting out of banks early. The details change, but the theme stays the same. It's not blind trust in paper or institutions. It's knowing what holds real value when illusions crumble. And here's the paradox that should keep you up at night. Collapse is both tragedy and opportunity. Ruin for the unprepared, wealth-building moment for the prepared. After the Black Death, peasants became landowners because land was plentiful and people were few. After 2008, those with cash bought homes cheap. History shows protection isn't just defense, it's positioning to grab what others are forced to sell. But wealth isn't only what you own, it's what you can do. History's survivors weren't just the ones with gold or land. They were the ones who could create value when others couldn't. The baker still making bread, the craftsman fixing tools, the merchant moving goods. In crisis, money loses meaning, but production never does. People still need to eat, build, trade, live. Those who meet those needs don't stay poor for long. Real protection is this: real assets, real skills, and accepting the truth that everything collapses eventually. Every crisis is a transfer, from the many who trusted too much to the few who prepared, from paper promises to tangible value, from passive savers to active builders. History has shown this over and over. The question isn't, will everything fall apart? It will. The question is, will you be one of the many left holding promises, or one of the few holding something real? History doesn't repeat, but if you ignore it, it'll crush you all the same. If this video gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe, man. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.